Hello. This is a very serious video. You may think I'm trolling with this video, but it is merely the opposite. I will be spreading the gospel of, what does this book say? The way to happiness. And speaking of respect, be respectful to little Ron up here, all right? He is simply going to be watching down upon me and witnessing me spread his word, obviously. So, without further ado, let's read The Way to Happiness, the Common Sense Guide to Better Living. And of course, there's a to and from line, so you can, just put this in someone's mailbox, kind of like a bomb. So, how to use this book. You, of course, wish to help your contacts and friends. Choose someone whose actions, however remotely, may influence your own survival. Write the person's name on the top line of the front cover of this. Okay, this is very basic instructions on how to write someone's name on a book. So Bill says, "Yo, yeah, I know that's right. This is a yo type stream where we will be. I don't care how many people watch this. This is important to me. This is a way towards a much safer and happier life for you and others." So, why I gave you this book, it's very personal. Your survival is important to me, and that is the only thing he writes. That's it. That is, then it moves on to the next section. Happiness. True joy and happiness are valuable. If one does not survive, no joy and no happiness are attainable. Obtainable. Trying to survive in a chaotic, dishonest, and generally immoral society is difficult. Any individual or group seeks to obtain from life what pleasure and freedom from pain that they can. Isn't that right, little Ron? Your own survival can be threatened by the bad actions of others around you. No shit, Sherlock. Your own happiness can be turned into tragedy and sorrow by the dishonesty. This is like a really complicated backwards way of just saying sometimes people are bad. I am sure you can think of instances of this actually happening. Yeah, everyone can. Such wrongs can reduce one's survival and impair one's happiness. Yeah. You are important to other people. You are listened to. You can influence others. The happiness or unhappiness of others you could name is important to you. There's also a picture of a dandelion just to give you the full experience of this. Without too much trouble, using this book, you can help them to survive and lead happier lives. I agree, Ron. While no one can guarantee that anyone else can be happy, their chances of survival and happiness can be improved, and with theirs, yours will be. Oh my God, all right. It is in your power to point the way to a less dangerous and happier life. I agree, Mr. Hubbard. 1. Oh man, this is going to be a tedious one. Take care of yourself. Get care when you are ill. When they are ill, even with communicable diseases, people often do not isolate themselves or seek proper treatment. This, as you can easily see, tends to put you at risk. Insist when someone is ill that he or she takes the proper precautions and gets proper care. I'm sure no one's ever done that before. Jesus bleeding out and suffering on the cross while people look on horror is nothing. Yeah, I totally agree. Ron can agree. Isn't that right, Ron? What's that? Oh, yeah. He agrees. So, number 2, keep your body clean. This is kindergartner tips. People who do not bathe or wash their hands regularly can carry germs. They put you at risk. You are well within your rights to insist that people bathe regularly and wash their hands. It is inevitable that one gets dirty working or exercise. Get them to clean up afterwards. That's an actual thing they put down. Section 3. Preserve your teeth. Ron. This guy. If one brushed one's teeth after every meal, it has been said that one would not suffer tooth decay. Whoa, that's crazy. This or chewing gum after each meal goes far toward defending others from oral diseases and bad breath. Suggest to others that they preserve their teeth. Eat properly. People who do not eat properly are not of much help to you or themselves. They tend to have a low energy level. This is not Scientology, this is science. They are sometimes ill-tempered. They become ill more easily. It doesn't require strange diets to eat properly, but it does require that one eats nourishing food regularly. And finally, get ready. And Landon Block says, "Hey, I'm a Scientologist too." Thank you. I know it was that quick for me to induct you into the cult. I mean, into the group, the religion. point 5, the final point, get rest. Yeah. Although many times in life one has to work beyond normal sleep periods, a person's general failure to get proper rest can make him or her a burden to others. Tired people are not alert. Oh yeah. They put others at risk. Insist that people who do not get proper rest do so, and we are 1/100th of the way through this booklet. All right. I am going to, of course, for those who will tap in later, we are speed running this. Wow, Scientology doesn't just use them instead of he/him. Lame. Yeah, come on, Ron. I understand Scientology is perfect in every way, but even Scientology has its faults. Now come here for a little forgiving kiss. Mwah. So let's go. All right, we're speed running this. I'm gonna try and speed speak. That's what it's called. To be temperate. 2-1. Do not take harmful drugs. People who take drugs don't always see the real world in front of them. They are not really there. On a highway, be in casual contact in a home, they can be very dangerous to you. People mistakenly believe that they feel better or act better or are only happy when on drugs. This is just another delusion. Sooner or later, the drugs will destroy them physically. Discourage people from taking drugs. When they are doing so, encourage them to seek help in getting off of them. That is how. Yeah, that's yeah. Do not take alcohol to excess. People who take alcohol are not alert. It impairs their ability to react even when it seems to them that they are more alert because of it. Alcohol has some medicinal value. It can also be grossly overestimated. Don't let anyone who has been drinking drive you in a car or fly you in a plane. Drinking can take lives in more ways than one. A little liquor goes a long way. Don't let too much of it wind up in unhappiness or death. Deter people from excessive drinking. Thanks, Ron. Never heard that one before. Observing the points above, one leads to become more physically able to enjoy life. That is not entirely true, because say, what if one is having a terrible life and drinking helps them forget about their troubles and improves their mental health? And as you know, if your mental health improves, your physical health improves. Now, don't excessively drink, little Ron, but I also do know that it can go both directions. 3. Oh, here's a great one. Don't be promiscuous. Oh, hell yeah. Sex is the means by which the race projects itself into the future through children and the family. A lot of pleasure and happiness can come from sex. Ron would know about that. He had a fun night last night, isn't that right, buddy? However, a nature intended that way so the race could go on, but misused or abused, it carries with it the heavy penalties and punishments. Nature seems to have intended it that way also. Ron, don't give me that smirk. Don't give me that smirk. We know you sinned last night. Shut up. 3 to, be faithful to your sexual partner. Unfaithfulness on the part of a sexual partner can heavily reduce one's survival. History and the newspapers carry floods of instances of the violence and human passions aroused by unfaithfulness. Now, guilt is the milder evil. Jealousy and vengeance are the greater monsters. One never knows when they will cease to sleep. It is all very well to speak of being civilized and uninhibited and understanding. No talk will mend ruined lives. That is also not true. A feeling of guilt is nowhere near as sharp as a knife in the back or ground glass in the soup. Ground glass in the soup. Ron, what type of hijinks did you engage in? Additionally, there is the question of health. If you do not insist upon faithfulness from a sexual partner, you lay yourself open to disease. Oh, shit. For a very brief period, it was said that sexual diseases were all under control. I'm not sure I've heard very much of that. This is not now the case, if it ever was. Incurable strains of such diseases now exist, like they always have. The problems of sexual misbehavior are not new. The powerful religion of Buddhism in India vanished from there in the 7th century. According to its own historians, the cause was sexual promiscuity in its monasteries. More modernly, when sexual promiscuity becomes prevalent in an organization, commercial or otherwise, the organization can be seen to fail. Wait, what? I don't know if that's true. Don't matter how civilized their discussions about it. Its families shatter in the face of unfaithfulness. The urge of the moment can become the sorrow of a lifetime. Impress those around you with that and safeguard your own health and pleasure. And in italics it says, sex is a big step on the way to happiness and joy. There is nothing wrong with it if it is followed with faithfulness and decency. 4. Love and help children. That is... Yeah, okay. Today's children will become tomorrow's civilization. Bringing a child into the world today is a little bit like dropping one into a tiger's cage. Wait, what? Children can't handle their environment. That's not the same thing. Dropping one, bringing a kid into the world is like dropping a child into a tiger's cage. I think that if you drop a child into a tiger's cage, the child will be dead within minutes. I don't think that's the same thing as bringing a child into the world, Ron. But whatever, moving on. Children can't handle their environment and they have no real resources. I think the world is a resource in a way to handle your environment, right? The environment pretty much provides you with enough resources for you to handle it yourself. And children often can handle their environment. Ever heard of the boxcar children? God. They need help. Oh, wait, they need love and help to make it. What is this thing? Ron is too figurative for me. He needs to make the language more clear and understandable. Well, no, listen, it's because Ron is more intelligent than all of us. Ron has an understanding of the world that we don't have. Isn't that right, Ron? Yeah, I was right. He said yes, he confirmed it. And obviously he's right about that. He's right about everything. So... They need... It is a delicate problem to discuss. There are almost as many theories on how to raise a child or not raise him as there are parents. Yet if one does it wrong, much grief can result, and one may even complicate his or her own later years. Some try to raise children the way they were themselves raised. Others attempt the exact opposite. Many hold to an idea that children should just be let grow on their own. None of these guarantee success. Well, there is no way to guarantee success. The last method is based upon a materialistic idea that the development of the child parallels the evolutionary history of the race. That in some magical way, unexplained, the nerves of the child will ripen as he or she grows older, and the result will be a moral, well-behaving adult. Good point, but you should still take into consideration the intellect of us simpletons. Well, I mean, Ron, he just doesn't give a crud. I mean, he is aware that sometimes his work may appear like gibberish to the uninformed virgins, but he also wants to spread the gospel of Scientology and also spread the message that he's better than you. However, let me just you could say refute this little point right here. I do think that Ron is right in a way with this little point right here about how the idea that parents are unnecessary, that's not entirely true, but at the same time, it is possible for a child to survive alone. Depends on the child, and also depends on what parents they're missing out on. There are parents who can pretty much make life worse for a child than if the child was on their own. So I'm in the middle here. I got to play centrist here, Ron. So although the theory is disproven with ease, not true. Simply by noticing the large criminal population whose nerves somehow did not ripen, it is a lazy way to raise children and achieve some popularity. It doesn't take care of your civilization's future or your older years. A child is a little bit like a blank slate. A little bit. It somewhat is, but also there are predetermined factors of their personality that will pretty much always remain there unless you really try to rub it out. If you write the wrong things on it, it will say the wrong things. But unlike a slate, a child can begin to do the writing. The child tends to write what has been written already. The problem is complicated by the fact that, while most children are capable of great decency, a few are born insane, and today, some are even born as drug addicts, but such cases are an unusual few. It does no good to try and quote-unquote buy the child with an overwhelm of... Who's texting me? Okay, get out of here. It is no good to just try and buy the child with an overwhelm of toys and possessions, or to smother or protect the child. The result can be pretty awful. One has to make up his mind when what he is trying to get the child to become. This is modified by several things. A, what the child basically can become due to inherent makeup and potential. B, what the child really wants to become. C, what one wants the child to become. D, the resources available. C, wait, no. What the heck? D, wait. I already said all of them. Sorry, I got distracted. Moving on. I have disappointed Ron a little bit, but I'll stay on point from now on. But remember, whatever these all add up to, the child will not survive well unless he or she eventually becomes self-reliant and very moral. Otherwise, the end product is likely to be a liability to everyone, including the child. Whatever one's affection for the child, remember that the child cannot survive well in the long run if he or she does not have his or her feet put on the way to survival. No comment. It will be no accident if the child goes wrong. The contemporary society is tailor-made for a child's failure. Ron. But you're different. You worked your way up by having the right mindset, and everyone else's mindset is wrong, obviously, and it will help enormously if you obtain a child's understanding of and agreement. Is that a typo? I don't think that's a typo. Ron would never do that. To follow the precepts contained in this book. What does have a workability is simply to try and be the child's friend. It is certainly true that a child needs friends. That is actually true. Try to find out what a child's problem really is, and without crushing their own solutions, try to help solve them. Observe them, and this applies even to babies. Listen to what children tell you about their lives. Let them help. If you don't, they become overwhelmed with a sense of obligation, which they then must repress. It will help the child enormously if you obtain understanding of and agreement to this way to happiness, and get him or her to follow it. It could have an enormous effect on your child's survival and yours. A child factually does not have to do well without love. Most children have an abundance of it to return. The way to happiness has on its route to the loving and the helping of children, from babyhood to the brink of adult life. That was incredibly boring. Honor and help your parents. Oh, this part's going to be even more boring. Get ready for this. We're going to speed speak this. From a child's point of view, parents are sometimes hard to understand. There are differences between generations, but truthfully, there is no barrier. When one is weak, it is a temptation to take refuge in subterfuges and lies. It is this which builds the wall. Children can reconcile their differences with their parents. Before any shouting begins, one can at least try to talk over it quietly. If the child is frank and honest, there cannot help but be an appeal that will reach. It is often possible to attain a compromise, where both sides now understand and can agree. It is not always easy to get along with others, but one should try. One cannot overlook the fact that almost always parents are acting from a very strong desire to do what they believe to be best for the child. Children are indebted to their parents for their upbringing, if the parents did so. While some parents are so fiercely independent that they will accept no return on the obligation, it is nevertheless true that there often comes a time when it is the turn of a younger generation to care for their parents. In spite of all, one must remember that they are the only parents one has, and as such, no matter what, one should honor and help them. That was really short, actually. The way to happiness includes being on good terms with one's parents or those who brought one up. That is not the only way to happiness, but it is a way to happiness. Congrats, Ron. You struck gold on this one. 6. Set a good example. There are many people one influences. The influence on it can be good and it can be bad. If one conducts his life to keep these recommendations, one is setting a good example. Others around one cannot help but be influenced by this, no matter what they say. Anyone trying to discourage you is seeking to do so because they factually mean you harm or are seeking you to serve their own ends. Down deep, they will respect you. Your own survival chances will be better in the long run since others' influence will become less of a threat. There are other benefits. Don't discount the effect you can have, or you can achieve on others simply by mentioning these things and setting a good example in your own right. The way to happiness requires that one set a good example for others. And it's really weird. At the end of each section, he puts italics that just restates the same thing again. But all right. Let's do this. There we go. Seek to live with the truth. Here's a picture of a very moody and, I suppose, converted man standing on the Scientology beach, reflecting on how his life is going to be 100% better now that he's a Scientologist. False data can cause one to make stupid mistakes. It can even block one from absorbing true data. One can solve the problems of existence only when he has true data. If those around one lie to him or her, one is led into making errors and his survival potential is reduced. False data can come from many sources, academic, social, professional. Many want you to believe things just to suit their own ends. What is true? Is what is true for you. No one has any right to force data off on you and command you to believe it or else. If it is not true for you, then it isn't true. I actually agree with that. I mean, what do you mean actually? I always agree with things he says, but I especially agree with this one. Good job, Ron. Head bump. There you go. All right. No one has any right to force data off on you and command you to believe it, or else, if it is not true for you, it is. Wait, I just read that paragraph. God damn it. Think your own way through things. Accept what is true for you. Discard the rest. There is nothing unhappier than one who tries to live in a chaos of lies. Now, if you've researched Scientology and noticed all of their brainwashing tactics and how pushy they are with their views, you would find this to be a bit hypocritical. But hey, this was Elrond Hubbard before he actually started the Xenu aliens who created everything religion that I believe in, because I'm a Scientologist. So I'll give you a free pass on that one. Do not tell harmful lies. Ooh, this is I guess this is one. Harmful lies are the product of fear, malice, and envy. They can drive people to acts of desperation. They can ruin lives. They are a kind of trap in which the teller, let's turn the page now, in which the teller and the target can both fall. Interpersonal and social chaos can result. Many wars began because of these harmful lies. One should learn to detect them and reject them. That rhymes. That's a good one. Nice, rizzity rhyming, Ron. Do not bear false witness. This is a really short one. There are considerable penalties connected with swearing or testifying to untrue facts. It is called perjury. It has heavy penalties. The way to happiness lies along the road to truth. Well, that's a little too poetic, Ron. It's a bit of a miss there, but you get a pass. That's fine because I like you. Here's one. Yeah. Do not murder. That's okay. Most races, from the most ancient times to the present, have prohibited murder and punished it heavily. Sometimes this has been brought in to say, thou shalt not kill, when a later translation of the same work has found it to read, thou shalt not murder. There is a considerable difference between these two words, kill and murder. A prohibition against all killing would rule out self-defense. It would tend to make it illegal to handle a serpent coiling to strike the baby. It would put on a race of diet of vegetables. I am sure you can see many illustrations of the difficulties raised by a prohibition against all killing. That is actually true. Murder is another thing entirely. By definition, it means the unlawful killing of one or more human being by another, especially with malice aforethought. I think that's how you pronounce it. One can easily see that in this age of violent weaponry, murder would be all too easy. One would not exist in a society where oneself or one's family or friends were at the mercy of some who went about casually taking lives. Wait, hold on, let me see. Yeah, nice try, Ron. I won't let libtards like you stop me from killing my 8-year-old niece. Ron, nice try. I see your smirk is in you thinking you tricked us all, but you didn't. You merely amused us. But that's still fine. We still follow you because you are the greatest guy ever. Murder is a where are we? Murder justly bears the highest priority in social prevention and retaliation. The stupid, the evil, and the insane seek to solve their real or imagined problems with murder. And they have been known to do it for no reason at all. This is actually the most agreeable section of the entire book. Get behind any demonstratedly effective program that handles this threat to mankind and push. Your own survival could depend on it. The way to happiness does not include murdering or your friends. Wait, does not including or your friends or... Oh, yeah. The way to happiness does not include murdering or your friends, your family, or yourself being murdered. I agree. If anyone disagrees with that, put it in chat. I think we might get a couple people who are conformists who want to go against this pretty against the grain perspective, but we'll ignore them. We'll ignore the haters. Oh God. Here's section 9. Don't do anything illegal. That's you got remember that. Nail that in your brains. In quotes, illegal acts are those which are prohibited by official rules or law. They are the product of rulers, legislative bodies, and judges. They are usually written down in law codes. In a well-ordered society, these are published and made known generally. In a cloudy and often crime-ridden society, one has to consult an attorney and be specially trained to know them all. Such a society will tell one that ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law. Any member of society, however, has a responsibility, whether young or old, for knowing that the society considers to be an illegal act, pardon my language. People can be asked, libraries exist where they can be looked up. Oh, my throat's gonna fucking die from this series. An illegal act is not disobedience to some casual order like go to bed. It is an action which, if done, can result in punishment by the courts and state, being pilloried by the state propaganda machine, finesse, fines, not finite, what the fuck? Fines and even imprisonment. When one does something illegal, small or large, one is laid open to an attack by the state. It does not matter whether one is caught or not. When one does an illegal act, one has weakened one's defenses. The law swings for the nuts. Almost any worthwhile thing one is trying to accomplish often can be done in perfectly legal ways. Let's see that. Almost any, of course. We don't talk about the others. We don't talk about the outliers. The illegal route is a dangerous and time-wasting shortcut. Imagined advantages in committing illegal acts usually turn out not to be worth it. That is, Ron, the true intellectual. The state and government tends to be a rather unthinking machine. It exists and works on laws and codes of laws. It is geared to strike down through its channels at illegality. As such, it can be an implacable enemy, adamant on the subject of illegal acts. The rightness and wrongness of things do not count in the face of laws and codes of laws. Only the laws count. What would Ron do if creating your own Bible was outlawed? I think Ron might just snap. But I think that, the laws are always created correctly. They're never, ever flawed, ever. So Ron is right to have this perspective. So here we go. Thank you, Bill, for being engaged. I can tell you're really getting into the Scientology machine. It's going to grind you up and spit you out a new man. Let's see. Yeah, so by the way, I believe that Ron is kind of correct, but really, if you're relying on the laws as governing what you should do or not do, you are missing the fact that laws are created to be a literal one-size-fits-all equivalency of a code, a social code, a one-size-fits-all social code. And as is becoming more and more prevalent right now, the one-size-fits-all in any situation, regardless of degree or magnitude, does not work. So we are slowly seeing not only why the legal system, but also different facets of the legal system are a little more flawed than we previously thought, and we shouldn't look to it as a religion. Some people do religiously look up to the law like that. These people are old-fashioned, as they say, and I'm a progressive man. I think this might be the least conservative the points of view I've ever put on my channel. This is unusual for me, all right? I don't like the closeted anarchist liberals, all right? Don't misrepresent me here, but I gotta play centrist. Yes, I went from a devoted Catholic to a radical obviously that's what's happening right now. This is your conversion process. Once we finish reading through this fucking ridiculously long booklet, it's not that long, but it feels really long because I'm taking too long to get through it because I keep getting distracted. But anyways, yeah, one size fits all law that will end up having exceptions. You see it all the time. You see these news articles where the law did not really fit every size because one size fits all is merely a fantasy. Read Karl Marx next. I would do that, but I have self-respect and dignity, so I won't do that. But I will finish reading this. Elrond Hubbard, he looks like Chuck McGill from Better Call Saul for some reason, at least in this picture, which really makes this whole part about the law a lot more funny for me. So I'll call himself the inspiration to Chuck McGill and also a bit of a Chuck McGill lookalike. So as a member of any group subject to laws, encourage the clear-cut publication. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, right. I skipped a paragraph. When you realize or discover that those about you are committing illegal acts, you should do what you can to discourage it. You yourself, not even a party to it, can yet suffer because of it. The firm's accountant falsifies the books. In any insulting commotion, the firm could fail and you lose your job. Such instances can grossly affect one's own survival. Marx hated Hispanics. Ron does not hate Hispanics. Ron won. Marx 0. That's fucking right, Ron. How about you? I bet if you'd beat Karl Marx in a fight, you would just grab his beard, swing it around, and then throw him into a Scientology wood chipper. Not metaphorical, a literal one. I'm sure they have Scientology brand Acme wood chippers. All right, let's continue. As a member of any group subject to laws, encourage the clear-cut publication of those laws so they can be known. Support any legal political effort to reduce, clarify, and codify the laws that apply to that group. Adhere to the principle that all men are equal under law. That's right, and only men. A principle which, in its own time and place, the tyrannical days of aristocracy was one of the greatest social advances in human history and should not be lost sight of. See that children and people become informed of what is legal and what is illegal and make it known. I like how he said children and people, as if children aren't real people. The heck is that? Children are a part of people. All right, whatever. And if by little, as a frown, that you do not approve of illegal acts, those who commit them, even when they get away with them, are yet weakened before the might of the state. The way to happiness does not include the fear of being found out. Ooh, that is true. It is stressful, the fear of being found out. Yes, they aren't. I'm assuming you mean children. Yeah, children aren't people. Children aren't real humans. I used to disagree with that about 5 seconds ago, but then Ron disproved me otherwise, and I've learned the wrongs of my ways. The wrongs of my ways. See what I did there? He doesn't like it. Okay. Support a government designed and run for all the people. Unscrupulous and evil men and groups can usurp the power of the government and use it to their own needs. Ron owned me. I shouldn't even try to pick a fight with this man. He knows the ins and outs of logic and owning libtards like myself. Government organized and constructed solely for self-interested individuals and groups gives the society a short lifespan. This imperils the survival of everyone in the land. It even imperils the survival of everyone in the land. Wait, what? I just read the same thing twice. It even imperils those who attempt it. History is full of such governmental deaths. Opposition to such government usually just brings on more violence. But one can raise his voice in caution when such abuses are abroad, and one need not actively support such a government. Doing nothing illegal is yet possible. It is yet possible by simply withdrawing one's cooperation to bring about an eventual reform. Even as this is being written, there are several governments in the world that are failing only because their people express their silent disagreement by simply not cooperating. These governments are at risk, and the untimely wind of mischance could blow them over. On the other hand, where a government is obviously working hard for all its people, all in all caps, rather than for some special interest group or insane dictator, one should support it to the limit. There is a subject called government. In schools, they mostly teach civics, which is merely how turn the page, Brian. The current organization is put together. The real subject, government, goes under various headings: political economy, political philosophy, political power, etc. The whole subject of government and how to govern can be quite precise, almost a technical science. If one is interested in having a better government, one that does not cause trouble, one should suggest it be taught at earlier ages in schools. One can also read up on it. It is not a very difficult subject if you look up the big words. It is, after all, the people and their own opinion leaders who sweat and fight and bleed for their country. A government cannot bleed. It cannot even smile. It is just an idea men have. It is the individual person who is alive. You. The way to happiness is hard to travel when shadowed with the oppression of tyranny. A benign government designed and run for all the people has been known to smooth the way. When which occurs, it deserves support. Ugh, Ron, you really went off there. Do not harm a person of goodwill. That's like the same thing as kind of murder, but whatever. Ugh. Despite the insistence of evil men that all men are evil, there are many good men and women too. You may have been fortunate enough to know some. Factually, the society runs on men and women of goodwill. Public workers, opinion leaders, those in the private sector who do their jobs are, in the great majority, people of goodwill. If they weren't, they long since would have ceased to serve. Such people are easy to attack. Their very decency prevents them from overprotecting themselves. Yet the survival of most of the individuals in a society depends upon them. The violent criminal, the propagandist, the sensation-seeking media all tend to distract one's attention from the solid, everyday fact that the society would not run at all if it were not for the individuals of goodwill. As they guard the street, counsel the children, take the temperatures, put out the fires, and speak good sense in quiet voices. One is apt to overlook the fact that good people of goodwill are the ones that keep the world going and man alive upon this earth. Also, Charb Plus says, what kind of Tom Cruise bullshit is this? Well, I will say, Tom Cruise, I used to hate that man because he was really weird and dumb and stupid, but I was wrong. I was wrong because not Tom Cruise, Elrond, however you pronounce his name, Elrond Hubbard proved us all wrong. Come here for another kiss. Okay, let's get back to it. Yet such can be attacked, and strong measures should be advocated and taken to defend them and keep them from harm. For your own survival and that of your family and friends depends upon them. The way to happiness is far more easily followed when one supports people of goodwill. Oh, that was a really boring and also derivative one, except it was not. It was awesome. Safeguard and improve your environment. Be of good appearance. It sometimes does not occur to some individuals, as they do not have to spend their days looking at themselves, that they form part of the scenery and appearance of others. And yet, some do not realize that they are judged by others on the basis of their appearance. Ooh, uh-oh. Change your channel name to based content. I would, but YouTube is not letting me because I received some sort of community strike, so they won't let me. While clothes can be expensive, soap and the other tools of self-care are not that hard to obtain. The techniques are sometimes difficult to dig up, but can be evolved. In some societies, when they are barbaric or become very degraded, it cannot even be the fashion to be a public eyesore. Actually, it is a symptom of a lack of self-respect. Exercising and working, one can become very messed up. But this does not rule out getting cleaned up. And as an example, some European and English workmen manage a style of appearance even when working. Excuse me. Some of the better athletes, one notices, look good despite being wring wet with sweat. That is actually in this book. An environment disfigured with unkempt people can have a subtle, depressing effect on one's morale. That is fucking right. Sorry for swearing, Ron. And encourage people around you to look good by complimenting them, even when they do, or even gently helping them with their problems when they don't. It could improve their self-regard and their morale as well. Take care of your own area. When people mess up their own possessions and area, it can slop over onto your own. When people seem to be incapable of caring for their own things and places, it is a symptom of their feeling that they don't really belong there and don't really own their own things. When young, the things they were given had too many cautions and strings attached, or were taken away from them by brothers, sisters, or parents, and they possibly did not feel welcome. The possessions, the rooms and workspaces, the vehicles of such people advertise that when they are not really the property of anyone. Worse, a sort of rage against possessions can sometimes be seen. Vandalism is a manifestation of it. The house or car nobody owns is soon ruined. Those who build and try to maintain low-income housing are often dismayed by the rapidity with which ruin can set in. The poor, by definition, own little or nothing. Harassed in various ways, they also come to feel they do not belong. But whether rich or poor, for whatever reason, people do not take care of their possessions and places can cause disorder to those about them. That's right, scum, listen up. I am sure that you can think of such instances. I'm sure Ron is thinking of such instances right now. His brows are furrowing with anger just thinking about it. Here, calm down, Ron. Let me pay you. All right, he feels better. Let's get back to it. Ask such people what they really do own in life, and if they really belong where they are, and you will receive some surprising answers, and help them a great deal too. Let's get this book right. The skill of organizing possessions and places can be taught. It can come as a new idea to someone that an item, when picked up and used, should be put back in the same place so it can be found again. Some spend half of their time just looking for things. A little time spent getting organized can pay off in speeded work. It is not the waste of time, some believe. To protect your own possessions and places, get others to take care of theirs. And again, this is all just very, very basic life rules. I'm not sure why Elrond Hubbard says the way to happiness in like a freaking ridiculous holy font. All right. Where's the good content in Elrond Hubbard fanfic? That has been 10 years in the working, and I say 10 years more, it'll be out. Andy goes, yeah, I know. This is something to really mull your mind over. Help take care of the planets. That's right. We are the world, everybody. The idea that one has a share in the planet and that one can and should help care for it may seem like a very large and to some quite beyond reality. But today, what happens on the other side of the world could be deteriorated to a point where it would no longer support life. And it possibly could happen in one's own lifetime. This was written back in the 1950s, by the way. Let me remind you, about 3 lifetimes ago. Cut down too many forests, foul too many rivers and seas, mess up the atmosphere, and we have had it. The surface temperature can go roasting hot. The rain can turn to sulfuric acid. All living things could die. One can ask, even that if that were true. Oh, wait, no, I gotta put on a pathetic voice because this is a commoner asking bullshit questions. One can ask, even if that were true, what could I do about it? Well, even if one were to simply frown when people do things to mess up the planet, one would be doing something about it. That's right. Even if one only had the opinion that it was not just a good thing to wreck the planet and mention that opinion, one would be doing something. Take care of the planet. That sounds like some libtard bullshit. Come on, Ron, don't appeal too much to the libtards. But I will say, we are the world. However that song goes. But Ron, this is going to be an outlier point right here. So we're gonna move on from this after I speed read this, and we'll get more to those grimy based points that you have. Let's see. Care of the planet begins in one's own front yard. It extends through the area one travels to get to school or work. The litter which messes up the terrain and water supply, the dead brush which invites fire, these are things one need not contribute to, in which, in otherwise idle moments, one can do something about. Planting a tree may seem little enough, but it is something. In some countries, old people, the employed, the unemployed do not just sit around and go to pieces. They are used to care for the gardens and the parks and forests, to pick up the litter and add some beauty to the world. There is no lack of resources to take care of the planet. They are mainly ignored. One notes that the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the Triple C, in the U.S., organized in the 1930s to absorb the energies of the unemployed officers and youth, was one of the few, if not the only project of that depressed era that created far more wealth than the state was expended. It reforested large areas and did, this is really boring, wow. It did other valuable things that care for the U.S. part of the planet. One notes that the CCC no longer exists. One can do as little as to add one's opinions that such projects are worthwhile and support opinion leaders and organizations that carry on environmental work. There is no lack of technology, but technology and its application costs money. Money is available when it's sensible economic policies which do not penalize anyone or followed such policies exist. There are many things one can do to help take care of the planet. They begin with the idea that one should. They progress with suggesting to others that they should. Man has gotten up to the potential of destroying the planet. He must be pushed up to the capability and actions of saving it. It is, after all, what we are standing on. If others do not help safeguard and improve the environment, the way to happiness could have no roadbed to travel on at all. All right, next section. That was really boring. Whoa, do not steal. Look at this. Look at this one. That is quite the freaky picture of stealing. He's stealing a pair of sunglasses, and someone's putting their hand out going, "Stop! Stop stealing! It is bad! Elrond Hubbard said so." All right. When one does not respect the ownership of things, his own possessions and property are at risk. A person who, for one reason or another, has been unable to honestly accumulate possessions can pretend that nobody owns anything anyway, but don't try and steal his shoes. A thief sows the environment with mysteries. What happened to this? What happened to that? A thief causes trouble far in excess of the value of things stolen. Faced with the advertising of desirable goods, torn by the incapability of doing anything valuable enough to acquire possessions, or simply driven by an impulse. Valuable at low cost. Wait, no. Those who steal imagine they are acquiring something at low cost, but that is the difficulty. That is the difficulty, Ron. The cost, the actual price the thief to the thief is high beyond belief. The greatest robbers in history paid for their loot by spending their lives in wretched hideouts and prisons with only rare moments of the good life. No amount of stolen valuables would reward such a horrible fate. Stolen goods greatly reduce in value. They have to be hidden. They are always a threat to liberty itself. Even in communist states, the thief is sent to prison. Stealing things is really just an admission that one is not capable enough to make it honestly, or that one has a streak of insanity. Ask a thief which one it is. It's either one or the other. I don't think the thief would really tell you, because the thief would ask for his lawyer before you ask him questions. Okay. So, oh yeah, right. I forgot. I should probably Let's see. Can I share the stream? Let's see. Okay, someone put the stream in the Discord server, I think. The thief is always innocent. The thief is always innocent. That is a take. That would make Elrond Hubbard steaming red mad. Let's see. Let's if I do this, okay, here we go, and I can share it. A small intermission. Let's see, here we go. God damn it, come on. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, whatever. Mention everybody. Discord. Oh, you aren't on the Discord? Here, let's see if I can put the link in, but invite people, yeah, copy that. There. All right, now that that's done, let's get back into it. Okay, Ron, hold on to your ass, because we're going to really get into it. Be worthy of trust. Get the fuck. Okay, goodbye. All right. Be worthy of trust. Unless one can have confidence in the reliability of those about one, he himself is at risk. When those he counts upon let him down, his own life can become disordered, and even his own survival can be put up to risk. Mutual trust is the firmest building block in human relationships. Without it, the whole structure comes down. Trustworthiness is a highly esteemed commodity. Esteemed, pardon my language. When one has it, it is considered one is considered valuable. When one has lost it, one may be considered worthless. One should get others around one to demonstrate it and earn it. They will become much more valuable to themselves and others thereby. Keep your word once given. When one gives an assurance or promise or makes a sworn intention, one must make it come true. If one says he is going to do something, he should do it. If he says he is not going to do something, he should not do it. One's regard for another is based, Ron, I see what you did there, based in no small degree on whether or not the person keeps his or her word. Isn't that right? I agree with that. Wait, I don't even remember what I read. Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Even parents, for instance, would be surprised at the extent they drop in the opinion of their children when a promise is not kept. That is true. Isn't that right, fellow kids out there with crappy parents? Except I don't have crappy parents. My parents are awesome. Except sometimes parents can stink. All right. People who keep their word are trusted and admired. People who are not people who do not are regarded like garbage. Those who break their word often never get another chance. A person who does not keep his word can soon find himself entangled and trapped in all manner of guarantees and restrictions, and even find himself shut off from normal relations with others. There is no more thorough self-exile from one's fellows than to fail to keep one's promises one made. Sometimes your parents are cool, sometimes they are mean. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That is a hot take that Elrond Hubbard should consider. I don't think Elrond Hubbard has kids. Elrond Hubbard was raised in a test tube. So, there is no more blah, blah, blah. One should never permit another to give his or her word lightly, and one should insist that when a promise is made, it must be kept. One's own life can become very disordered in trying to associate with people who do not keep their promises. It is not a casual matter. The way to happiness is much, much easier to travel with people one can trust. Also, I should, let's see. They take you to Disneyland one day. Yeah, I know, that is true. So, Catholics is here, and Chatlos. The heck, that's a lot of people. I'm going to type just in all caps, live. Just live. Let's see. Live. There we go. Put that in there. All right. They take you to Disneyland one day. They slap your ass the next. Dump you into the toilet. Fulfill your obligations. Again, more common sense, but whatever. In going through life, one inevitably incurs obligations. Factually, one is born with certain... Okay, Chart Plus. Does Elrond Hubbard believe in eugenics? Because if he does, then I'm in. Now, I, being an extremely smart person, I definitely know what eugenics is, but I'm just for the simpletons out there. I'm going to... Hey, Siri, what is eugenics?
Eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. Historically by
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. That's what it is, except I already knew what that is. Also, Chart Plus's chat list. Oh, yeah, right. Welcome back to the Rajiv Hajabib's Cool Corner. I notify the people of the paper stream. I ping everyone. Excuse me. Notifying them of the paper stream every day, every at 10 a.m. every day. That's how we do it. Okay. So I'm glad you're here. Let's see. If Ron truly does believe in protecting the planet, what's coming up? What are you gonna put down, Bill? Then he would support eugenics. That's right, and I think Ron does. Look at that smirk. He totally supports eugenics. That is a eugenical smile. All right, now we got to continue with this. Hey, I think we're over halfway there. We've come so far. In going through life, blah, blah, blah. I've already said this part of it. It is a credit to parents that they don't push any harder than they do, but it isn't an obligation, nevertheless. Even the child feels it. And as life continues to run its course, one accumulates other obligations to other persons, to friends, to society, and even the world. It is an extreme disservice to a person not to permit him to satisfy or pay off his obligations. No small part of the revolt of childhood is caused by others refusing to accept the only coins a baby or child of youth has with to discharge the weight of obligation. The baby smiles, the child's fumbling efforts to help, the youth's possible advice, or just the effort to be a good son or good daughter commonly pass unrecognized, unaccepted. They can be ill-gained, often ill-planned. They fade quickly. Such efforts, when they fail to discharge the enormity of the debt, can be replaced with any number of mechanisms or rationalizations. One doesn't really owe anything. I was owed all of it in the first place. I didn't ask to be born. My parents or guardians are no good. Well, guess what, idiots? Ron's about to own you in the next page. And life isn't worth living anyway, to name a few. And yet the obligations continue to pile up. The weight of obligation can be a crushing burden if one can see no way to discharge it. It can bring about all manner of individual or societal disorders when it cannot be discharged. Those who are owed, often unwittingly, find themselves targets for the most unlooked for reactions. One can help a person who finds himself in the dilemma of unpaid obligations and debt by simply going over with him or her all the obligations they have incurred and have not fulfilled, moral, social, and financial, and work out some way to discharge all of those the person feels are still owed. One should accept the efforts of a child and an adult to pay off non-financial obligations they feel they may owe. One should help bring about some mutually agreeable solution to the discharge of the financial ones. And Chart Plus says, create eugenics, make your own features, the ideal features, have tons of sex. Ron, based off the nut he ate last night, he would totally be on your side, and he is on your side because he's not dead. He was simply abducted by aliens. The aliens that created the Earth, obviously. Discourage a person from incurring more obligations than it is possible for him or her to actually discharge or repay. Speaking of discharge, Ron, we're going to be getting at it again tonight. Now, shh, mom's the word. Don't tell anyone. It's embarrassing to me. The way to happiness is very hard to travel when one is burdened with the weight of blah, 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 blah. That's just a restatement of the entire section. Be industrious. Work is not always pleasant. You got that right, Ron. Hashtag relatable. But few are unhappier than those who lead a purposeless, idle, or bored existence. Children gloom to their mother when they have nothing to do. The low-mindedness of the unemployed, even when they are on relief or the dole, is legendary. The retired man with nothing further to accomplish in life perishes from inactivity, as shown by statistics. That is not true. I'm not sure where he got that from. Even the tourist, lured by a travel agency's call to leisure, gives a tour conductor a bad time if he has nothing for them to do. That is an interesting example to give. Sorrow itself can be eased by simply getting busy at something. Morale is boosted so high to high highs by accomplishment. In fact, it can be demonstrated that production is the basis of morale. Let me scratch an itch on my nose. All right, we did it. People who are not industrious dump the workload on those around them. They tend to burden one. Ron is such a deep philosopher with so many new and intriguing ideas. Ron, you are the Jimi Hendrix of Scientology booklets. All right. A workable answer is to persuade such to decide on some activity and get them busy with it. The most lasting benefit will be found to arise from work that leads to actual production. The way to happiness is a high road when it includes industriousness that leads to tangible production. Don't murder, don't steal, work isn't fun, follow the rules. Well, I used to be a sheep who used to think that those were merely tall tales that were just not, they were just, it was just meaningless babble, but I realize now that it meant so much more. Ron showed me that. And also Ron showed me a couple other private things of his last night. All right. Be competent. Yeah, be competent. That's one. Be competent. In an age of intricate equipment and high-speed machines and vehicles, one's survival and that of one's family and friends depends in no small measure upon the general competence of others. That's right. In an age of super robots and futuristic elevators and robotic and cyborgs in the marketplace, in the sciences, the humanities, and in the government, incompetence can threaten the lives and future of the few or the many. Ugh. God. I am sure you can think of the many examples of these things. My mind's blanking because my mind is a complete blank slate because of how much I'm reading of this booklet. Man has always had an impulse to control his fate. Superstition, propitiation of all the right gods, ritual dances before the hunt can all be viewed as efforts, no matter how faint or unveiling, to control destiny. It was not until he learned to think, to value knowledge, and to apply it with competent skill that he began to dominate his environment. The true gift of heaven may have been the potential to be competent. In common pursuits and activities, man respects skill and ability. These in a hero or athlete are almost worshipped. The test of true competence is the end result. To the degree that a man is competent, he survives. To the degree that he is incompetent, he perishes. Encourage the attainment of competence in any worthwhile pursuit. Compliment it and reward it whenever you find it. Demand high performance standards. The test of a society is whether or not you, your family, and friends can live in it safely. The ingredients of competence include observation, study, and practice. And this one's just said, look. Look. All right. Thanks, Ron. See what you see, not what someone tells you you see. What you observe is what you observe. Look at things and life and others directly, not through any cloud of prejudice, curtain of fear of the interpretation of another. Instead of arguing with others, get them to look. The most flagrant lies can be punctured. The greatest pretenses can be exposed. The most intricate puzzles can resolve. The most remarkable revelations can occur simply by gently insisting that someone look. When another finds things almost too confusing or difficult to bear, when his or her wits are going around and around, get the person to just stand back and look. What they can find is usually very obvious when they see it. They can go on and handle things, but if they don't see it themselves, observe it for themselves, it may have little reality for them, and all the directives and orders and punishment in the world will not resolve their muddle. One can indicate what direction to look and suggest that they do look. The conclusions are up to them. A child or adult sees what he himself sees, and that is the reality for him. True competence is based upon one's own ability to observe. With that as a reality, only then can one be deft and sure. Learn. Oh, I see. He's doing just single word sections now. Okay, I get it. Apologies for getting on your case about that previously, Ron. I'm sorry. Let's make up. Also, there we go. Has there ever been an instance where another had some false data about you? Did it cause you trouble? Got that right, Ron. That relatable moment when. This can give you some idea of the havoc false data can raise. You could also have some false data about another. Separating the false from the true brings about understanding. There's a lot of false data around. Evil-intentioned individuals, and let me repeat this, evil-intentioned individuals manufacture it to serve their own purposes. Some of it comes from just plain ignorance of the facts. It can block the acceptance of true data. The main process of learning consists of inspecting the available data, selecting the true from the false, the important from the unimportant, and arriving hereby at conclusions one makes and can apply. If one does this, one is well on the way to being competent. The test of any truth is whether it is true for you. When one has gotten the body of data, cleared up any misunderstood words in it, and looked over the scene, it still does not seem true. Then it isn't true so far as you are concerned. Reject it. And if you like, carry it further and conclude what the truth is for you. After all, you are the one who is going to have to use it or not use it. Where was I in the book? I lost my place. Think with it or do not think with it. If one blindly accepts facts or truths just because he is told he must, facts and truths which do not seem true to one or even false, the end result can be an unhappy one. Isn't that right, Ron? That is the alley to the trash bin of incompetence. Another part of learning entails simply committing things to memory. When does this book address the creation of mankind? Yeah, I'm wondering that, Ron. I think this book just addresses the way to happiness. Maybe I think there's other Scientology booklets. That technically makes this video untruthful clickbait, even though Elrond Hubbard did write this, so I'm actually kind of staying true to the title, but whatever. The process of learning is not just piling data on top of more data. It is one of obtaining new understandings and better ways to do things. Those who get along in life never really stop studying and learning. The competent engineer keeps up with new ways. The good athlete continually reviews the progress of his sport. Any professional keeps a stack of his texts to hand and consults them. The new model egg beater or washing machine, the latest year's car, all demand some study and learning before they can be competently operated. When people omit it, there are accidents in the kitchen and piles of bleeding wreckage on the highways. It is a very arrogant fellow who thinks he has nothing further to learn in life. It is a dangerously blind one who cannot shed his prejudices and false data and supplant them with facts and truths and that can more fittingly assist his own life and everyone else's. There are ways to study so that one really learns and use what one learns. In brief, it consists of having a teacher and or texts that know what they are talking about, of clearing up every word one does not fully understand, of consulting other references and or the scene of the subject, sorting out the false data that one might have already have, sifting the false from the true on the basis of what is now true for you. That rhymes. Good one, Ron. The end result will be certainty and potential competence. It can be actually a bright and rewarding experience, not unlike climbing a treacherous mountain through brambles, but coming out on top with a new view of the whole wide world. Okay. A civilization to survive must nurture the habits and abilities to study in its schools. A school is not a place where one puts children to get them out from under a foot during the day. That would be far too expensive for just that. It is not a place where one manufactures parrots. Oh yeah, that makes sense. School is where one should learn to study and where children can be prepared to come to grips with reality. Learn to handle, Learn to handle it with competence and be ready to take over tomorrow's world, the world where current adults will be later in their middle or old age. The hardened criminal never learned to learn. Repeatedly, the courts seek to teach him that if he commits the crime again, he will go back to prison. Most of them do the same crime again and go back to prison. Most of them will do the same. We know. Factually, criminals cause more and more laws to be passed. The decent citizen is the one that obeys laws. The criminals, by definition, do not. Criminals cannot learn. Not all the orders and directives and punishments and duress will work upon a being that does not know how to learn and cannot learn. A characteristic of a government head that has gone criminal and has sometimes happened in history is that its leaders cannot learn. All records and good sense may tell them that a disaster follows oppression. Yet, it has taken a violent revolution to handle them, or a World War II to get rid of a Hitler, and those who were very unhappy results for mankind. Such did not learn. They reveled in false data. They refused all evidence and truth. They had to be blown away. The insane cannot learn. Driven by hidden evil intentions. I have an itch on my forehead. Let me just... There we go. Where was I? Driven by hidden evil intentions or crushed beyond the ability to reason, facts and truth and reality are far beyond them. They personify false data. They will not or cannot really perceive or learn. Now that is debatable, but I'm going to move on because Ron is always right. A multitude of personal and social problems arise from the inability or refusal to learn. The lives of some around you have gone off the rails because they do not know how to study, because they do not learn. You can probably think of some examples. I love how he always says that. You can probably think of some examples. Just name examples, Ron. Okay. If one cannot get those around them to study or learn, if one's own work can become harder and even overloaded, and if one's potential survival can be greatly reduced. One can help others and study and learn if only by putting in their reach in the data that they should have. One can help simply by acknowledging what they have learned. One can assist if only by appreciating any demonstrated increase in competence. If one likes, one can do more than that. Another can be assisted by helping them. Without dispute, sort out false data, by helping them find and clear up words they may have not understood, by helping them find and handle the reasons that they do not study and learn. As life is largely trial and error, instead of coming down on somebody who makes a mistake, find out how come a mistake was made, and see if the other can't learn something from it. Now and then you may surprise yourself by untangling a person's life by having just gotten the person to study and learn. I'm sure you can think of many ways. Again, Ron, name actual examples. Don't tell us to name examples of it. And I would think you will find the gentler ones work best. The world is brutal enough already to people who can't learn. Practice. Learning bears fruit when it is applied. Wisdom, of course, can be pursued for its own sake. There is even a kind of beauty in it, but truth told, one never really knows if he is wise or not until he sees the results of trying to apply it. Any activity, skill, or profession, ditch digging, law, engineering, cooking, or whatever, no matter how well it is studied, collides at last with the acid test. Can one do it? And that doing requires practice. And Ben Davidson says, I love you. I love you, but not as much as I love Scientology. All right. Thanks, Ben, for the kind words. Okay. Movie stuntmen don't practice. Movie stuntmen who don't practice first get hurt. So do housewives. Safety is not really a popular subject because it is usually accompanied by be careful and go slow. People can feel restraints are being put on them. But there is another approach. If one is really practiced, his skill and dexterity is such that he doesn't have to be careful or go slow. Safe, high speed of motion becomes possible only with practice. One's skill and dexterity must be brought up to match the speed of the age one lives in. And that is done with practice. Turn the page. There we go. One can train one's eyes, one's body, one's hands and feet until with practice they sort of get to know. One no longer has to think to set up the stove or park or car. One just does it. In any activity, quite a bit of what passes for talent is really just practice. Without working out each movement or one makes to do something and then doing it over and over until one can get it done without even thinking about it and get it done with speed and accuracy. One can set the stage for accidents. Oh God, we're getting close to being done. Statistics tend to bear out the least practiced have the most accidents. Okay. The same principle applies to crafts and professions which mainly use the mind. The lawyer who has not drilled on the courtroom procedure may not have learned to shift his mental gears fast enough to encounter new turns of case and loses it. An undrilled new stockbroker could lose a fortune in minutes. A green salesman who has not rehearsed selling could starve for a lack of sales. The right answer is to practice, practice, and practice. Sometimes one finds that what one has learned he cannot apply. If so, the faults lay with improper study or with the teacher or text. If it is one thing to read the directions, it is sometimes another thing entirely to try them. Now and then, when one is getting nowhere with practice, one has to throw the book away and start from scratch. The field of movie sound recording has been like that. If one followed what recordist texts there have been, one could not get a bird song to sound any better than a foghorn. That is why you can't tell what the actors are saying in some movies. The good sound recordist had to work it all out for himself in order to do his job. But in the same field of cinema, there is a complete reversal of this. Several texts on cine lighting are excellent. If followed exactly, one gets a beautiful scene. It is regrettable, particularly in a high-speed technical society, that not all activities are adequately covered with the understandable texts, but that should not stop one. When good texts exist, value them and study them well. Oh god, my throat hurts. Where they don't, assemble what data is available, study that, and work the rest of it out. But theory and data blossom only when applied and applied with practice. One is at risk when those about one do not practice their skills until they can really do them. There is a vast difference between good enough and professional skill and dexterity. The gap is bridged with practice. Oops, my mic almost fell. There is considerable joy in skill, dexterity, and moving fast. It can only be done safely with practice. Trying to live in a high-speed world with low-speed people is not very safe. The way to happiness is best traveled with competent companions, not fucking weed-smoking losers. All right. Excuse me. Respect the religious beliefs of others unless they are not following Scientology. Tolerance is a good cornerstone on which to build human relationships. When one views the slaughter and suffering caused by religious intolerance down all the history of men into modern times, one can see that intolerance is a very non-survival activity. This is probably going to be the most interesting part of the book and probably the most agreeable. Let's see. Philosophers since the times of ancient Greece have disputed with one another about the nature of God, man, and the universe. The opinions of authorities ebb and flow, and now the philosophies of mechanism and materialism, dating as far back as ancient Egypt and Greece, are the fad. They seek to assert that all is matter and overlook that, neat as their explanations of evolutions may be, they still do not rule out additional factors that might be at work. They might merely be using such things as evolution, and today they are the official philosophies and even taught in schools. They have their own zealots who attack the beliefs and religions of others. The result can be intolerance and contention. Oh, God. Okay, we're getting close to being done. This is a good section, though. I like this section. If all the brightest minds since the 5th century BC or before have never been able to agree on the subject of religion or anti-religion, it is an arena of combat between people that one would do well to stay out of. In this sea of contention, one bright principle has emerged, the right to believe as one chooses. Faith and belief do not necessarily surrender to logic. They cannot be declared to be illogical. They can be things quite apart. Any advice one might give another on this subject is safest when it simply asserts the right to believe as one chooses. One is at liberty to hold up his own beliefs for acceptance. One is at risk when he seeks to assault the beliefs of others, much more so when he attacks and seeks to harm them because of their religious convictions. Man, since the dawn of the species, has taken great consolation and join his religions. Even the mechanist and materialist of today sound much like the priests of old as they spread their dogma. Men without faith are a pretty sorry lot. They can even be given something to have faith in, but when they have religious beliefs, respect them. The way to happiness can become contentious when one fails to respect the religious beliefs of others. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that religion, to me, is much less of a, this is why I truly believe our universe exists, and it's more of a mental health thing. Because really, us humans are the first creatures to really gain a true perception of mortality and an idea. The fact that I can honestly see why some people devote themselves to this. It is way simpler than most. I know it is actually. It's kind of this. It's like centrism, but guised up as some ridiculous alien thing. But yeah. Elrond Hubbard was a sensible man in some ways, and of course in all of the ways, because he's always right. But I mean, anyways, to me, what a religion is about, and the reason it's gotten so crazy is because of man's tendency to compensate and distract oneself from awareness of mortality. And awareness of mortality is something very exclusive to us humans. You can say that other creatures possess it, but not to the degree that we do. We have such a history of lamenting on mortality that it really is something that is just a human thing, and just a human thing. So religion and these stories about a world that is much less bleak than the more scientific reality, throw in man's tendency to want to compensate mentally for their awareness of mortality, throw in a little bit of mob mentality that is also a human thing, and boom, you got religion. It's and also, humans' ability to pass down through generations a bunch of different texts and readings and beliefs. So that's what religion is, and I think that it actually helps out. There are tons of people in this world that mentally are way better off now that they're a religion. So even though I'm agnostic, I don't really believe in a God, I have to appreciate the concept and idea of a God, because at the end of the day, that's what religion does. It saves lives. Religion saves lives in a mental state sort of way, not in the holy, rapture, holy juice, everything's part of God's plan type of way. It's more of just a, helping people deal with life type of way. All right. So, back to Ron's text. Enough of me and my silly drivel. Try not to do things others that you would not like them to do. This is just the golden rule. It's just be good. Don't do things that other people don't like for you to do. Yeah, it gives people's faith something to hold on to when they have nothing left. Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you. It's a mental health thing. So, among many peoples and many lands for many ages, there have been... I am so ready to finish this book. Is called The Golden Rule. There we go. Boom. I don't know why he had to word it so fucked up like at the top, but only a criminal we know. The above is a wording of it that relates to harmful acts. Only a saint could go through life without ever harming another, but only a criminal hurts those around him without second thought. Completely aside from feelings of guilt or shame or conscience, all of which can be real enough and bad enough, it also happens to be true that the harm one does to others can recoil onto oneself. Ever heard of that? I think that begins with K and rhymes with Dharma. Wait a minute, the Dharma is an actual thing too. I was just putting another random consonant in place of the K. I forgot that actually stands for something. Not all harmful acts are reversible. One can commit an act against another which cannot be waved aside or forgotten. Murder is such an act. One can work out how severe violation of almost any precept in this book could become an irreversible harmful act against another. The ruin of another's life can wreck one's own. Society reacts. The prisons and the insane asylums are stuffed with people who harmed their fellows. But there are other penalties, whether one is caught or not. Committing harmful acts against others, particularly when hidden, can cause one to suffer severe changes in his attitudes towards others and himself, all of them unhappy ones. The unhappiness and joy of life depart. This version of the golden rule is also useful as a test when one persuades... Get this tape measure out of here and get these out of here. Okay. Oh man, let's see. When one persuades someone to apply it, the person can attain a reality on what a harmful act is. It answers for one what harm is. The philosophic question concerning wrongdoing, the argument of what is wrong, is answered at once on a personal basis. Would you not like that to happen to you? No, then it must be a harmful action, and from a society's viewpoint, a wrong action. It can awaken social consciousness. It can then let one work out what one should do and what one should not do. In a time when some feel no restraint from doing harmful acts, the survival potential of the individual sinks to a very low ebb with 2 Bs. If you can persuade people to apply this, then you will have given them a precept to which they can evaluate their own lives, and to some open the door to let them rejoin the human race. The way to happiness is close to those who restrain themselves from committing harmful acts. Oh my God. All right. And 20. Try to treat others as you would want them to treat you. That's the same thing, Ron. This is a positive version of the golden rule. It's literally the same thing. Don't be surprised if someone seems to resent being told to be good, but the resentment may not come to at all the idea of being good. It may be because the person actually is a misunderstanding of what it means. One can get into a lot of conflicting opinions and confusions about what good behavior might be. One may never have grasped, even if the teacher did, why he or she was given the grade received for conduct. One might have even assumed false data concerning it. Children should be seen and not heard. I gotta put on a voice. Whoa, children should be seen and not heard. Being good means being inactive. Whoa! However, there is a way to clear up all one's complete satisfaction. In all times, in most places, mankind has looked up to and revered certain values. They are called the virtues. They have been attributed to wise men, holy men, saints, and gods. They have been made the difference between a barbarian and a cultured person, the difference between chaos and a decent society. It doesn't absolutely require a heavenly mandate nor a tedious search through the thick tomes of the philosophers to discover what good is. A self-revelation can occur on the subject. Oh my God, this is so long. It can be worked out by almost any person. If one were to think over how he or she would like to be treated by others, one would evolve into the human virtues. Just figure out how you'd want people to treat you. You could possibly... Okay, 2-second break. Okay, 2-second break over. You could possibly, first of all, want to be treated justly. You wouldn't want people to be lying about you, falsely or harshly condemning you, right? That's supposed to be a question, but I didn't tonally phrase that as a question in my voice. You would probably want your friends and companions to be loyal. You would not want them to betray you. You could want to be treated with good sportsmanship, not hoodwinked or tricked. Or not hoodwinked or tricked. Just wanted to do that. You would want people to be fair in their dealings with you. You would want them to be honest with you and not cheat you. Correct. You might want to be treated kindly and without cruelty. You would possibly want people to be considerate of their rights and feelings. When you were down, you might like others to be compassionate instead of blasting. You would probably want others to exhibit self-control. Right. If you had any defects or shortcomings, if you made a mistake, you might want people to be tolerant, not critical, rather than concentrating on censure and punishment. You would prefer people to be forgiving, correct. You might want people to be benevolent towards you. You might nor mean nor stingy. Your possible desire for others to believe in you, not doubt you at every hand. Okay, just a quick break. Let's begin again. You would probably prefer to be given respect, not insulted. Probably you'd want others to be polite to you and also treat you with dignity, right? Yes. Correct. I agree with that. You might like people to admire you when you did something for them. You would possibly like people to appreciate you. Correct. And again, I'm not the one who's adding that. Elrond Hubbard is adding that after every sentence. Oh, Ron, you silly goose. Ugh. You would probably like others to be friendly toward you. From some, you might want love, and above all, you would want these people just pretending these things. You wouldn't want people just pretending these things. You would want them to be quite real in their attitudes and be acting with integrity. You could possibly think of others, and there are precepts contained within this book. But above you would have worked out the summary of what are called the virtues. Oh my God, I've talked so much in the past hour. Oh my God. It requires no great stretch of imagination for one to recognize that if he were to be treated in that way regularly by others around him, Bill. Wait, this is a different Bill. Why is the profile picture different? The fuck? Is there a Bill army I didn't know about? Is there it's like 20 bills that I wasn't aware of? You're pulling through like a true champ. Oh, thank you. Means so much to me. I just got a quick break. All right, back onto it. Okay. Now, there is an interesting phenomenon at work in human relations. When one person yells at another, the other has the impulse to yell back like this. Ah! Like that. One is treated pretty much the way he treats others. One actually sets an example of how he should be treated. A is mean to B as B is mean to A. A is friendly to B as B is friendly to A. This is such a mouthful. I want to die. Okay, I'm sure you have seen this at work continually. George hates all women, so all women tend to hate George. I don't know. Some women can be fucking lame. Some women are weird. Not lame. Some women are actually pretty cool and like men who hate them. Those people are called weirdos. Carlos acts tough as to everyone, so others tend to act tough toward Carlos. Carlos, you silly man. As if they don't dare to put out, and if they don't dare out in the open, they privately may nurse a hidden impulse to act very tough indeed toward Carlos. If they never get a chance. The unreal world of fiction in the motion pictures, one sees polite villains with unbelievably efficient gangs and lone heroes who are outright bores. What life really isn't like that. Real villains are usually pretty crude people and their henchmen cruder. Napoleon and Hitler were betrayed right and left by their own people. My tongue. I have a cramp in my tongue. That's how much I've fucking talked in the past hour and 23 minutes. I should take a break from talking for the next week. Ugh. Real heroes are the quietest talking fellas you ever met. Real heroes are the quietest talking fellas. I wonder what that says about me. And they are very polite to their friends. Yeah, well, guess what? I am a hero, so fuck you. When one is lucky enough to get to meet and talk to the men and women who are at the top of their professions, one is struck by an observation often made that they are just about the nicest people you've ever met. That is one of the reasons they are at the top. That they try, most of them, to treat others well. Let those around them respond and tend to treat them well and even forgive their few shortcomings. Ugh. Elright, one can work out for himself the human virtues just by recognizing how he himself would like to be treated. And from that, I think you will agree one has settled any confusions as to what good conduct really is. It's a far cry from... There's drool dripping down my mouth. Okay. It's a far cry from being inactive, sitting still with your hands on your lap and saying nothing. Well, I am doing everything he just described except the part where we're saying nothing. Being good can be a very active and powerful force. I am so active right now. You have no idea how much sweat is dripping down my tongue. A lot. It's dripping into my mouth and I'm swallowing it. Oh, it's a nice mouthful of sweat. There is little joy to be found in gloomy, restrained solemnity. When some of old made it seem that practiced virtue required a grim and dismal sort of life, they tended to infer that all pleasure came from being wicked. Nothing could be further from the facts. Rednax says hi. Hello, Rednax. How we doing? I suppose that I have read this book. They tended to infer that all pleasure came... Wait. Nothing could be further from the facts. Joy and pleasure do not come from immorality. No shit. No, that's crazy. Quite the reverse in an exclamation point. Joy and pleasure arise only in honest hearts. The immoral lead unbelievably tragic lives filled with suffering and pain. The human virtues have little to do with gloominess. They are the bright face of life itself. Now, what do you suppose would happen if one were to try to treat those around him with justness, loyalty, good sportsmanship, fairness, honesty, kindness, a bunch of fucking lists that I'm not going to read. There we go. That's the list. Read it. Goodbye. And I'm going to flip to the next page. Oh, there's more. Fuck. It might take a while, but don't you suppose that many others would begin to try to treat one the same way, even allowing for the occasional lapses, the news that startles one half out his wits, the burglar as one to bop on the head, the nut who is driving slow in the fast lane when one is late for work. It should be fairly visible that one would lift oneself to a new plane of human relations. One's survival potential would be considerably raised, and certainly one's life would be a happier one. Oh, one can influence the conduct of others around him. If one is not like that already, it can be made much easier by just picking one virtue a day and specializing it for that day. Doing that, they would all eventually be in. Oh. Aside from personal benefit, one can take a hand, no matter how small, in beginning a new era for human relations. The pebble dropped in a pool can make ripples to the furthest shore. The way to happiness is made much brighter by applying the precept, try to treat others as you would want them to treat you. Flourish and prosper. That's another one. You should read every name in your yearbook starting from kindergarten. I don't even have a kindergarten yearbook. I have a bunch of missing years in my yearbook, so that'd be difficult. I can just bring my high school yearbook and just read that. That'd be a long one. This is going to be my last long live stream in like the next year. This really has taken a toll on me. Sometimes others seek to crush one down, to make nothing out of one's hopes and dreams, one's future and oneself. By ridicule and many other means, another who is evil intentioned toward one can try to bring about one's decline. For whatever reason, efforts to improve oneself, to become happier in life, can be the subject of attacks. It is sometimes necessary to handle such directly. But there is a long-range handling that seldom fails. What exactly are such people trying to do to one? They are trying to reduce one downward. They must conceive that one is dangerous to them in some way, that if one got up in the world, one could be a menace to them. We're almost done with this book. So in various ways, such seek to depress one's talents and capabilities. Some madmen even have a general plan that goes like this. If A becomes more successful, A could be a menace to me. Therefore, I must do all I can to make A less successful. It never seems to occur. that their actions may make an enemy out of it, even though he was no enemy before. It can be That's what Eli did. That's literally what Eli did. Ugh. Let me just take a break. It can be classed as an almost certain way for such madmen to get into trouble. Some do it just from prejudice or because they don't like someone. That's literally what Eli did. Eli, why are you reminding me of stuff in a Scientology booklet? Oh, it's the end. It's almost the end. But however, it is attempted the real object of such as such to make their target grow less and fail in life. The real handling of such a situation is such people, the only real aim to defeat them is to flourish and prosper. Oh yes, it is true that such people seeking to improve his lot can become frantic and attack. All the harder thing to do is to handle them, and if one must, but don't give up flourishing and prospering, and that is what such people want you to do. If you flourish and prosper more and more, such people grow into apathy about it. They can give up completely. If one's aims in life were worthwhile, if one carries them out with the tension and precepts in this book, if one flourishes and prospers, one certainly will wind up the victor, and hopefully without harming a single hair on their heads. And that is my wish for you. Flourish and prosper. In a picture of a tree. It's the end of the book. There's an epilogue. I have to read it. It's part of the rule. Epilogue. Okay, we can speedrun this. We can do this if you keep pushing. Oh my fucking god. Oh god. Happiness lies in engaging in worthwhile activities. There is only one person for certain who can tell what will be making one happy. Oneself, aka you. The precepts given in this book are really the edges of the road. Violating them, the one is like the motorist who plunges off into the verge. The result can be wreckage of the moment, a relationship, a life. Only you can say where the road goes on. Only you can say where the road goes. For one sets his goals for the... What type of sentence is that? For the relationship, for the phase of life. One can feel at times like a spinning leaf blown along a dirty street. One can feel like a grain of sand stuck in one place. But nobody has said that life was calm and orderly thing. It isn't. One isn't a tattered leaf nor a grain of sand. One can, to a greater or lesser degree, draw his road map and follow it. One can feel that things are such now that it is much too late to do anything. The one's past road is so messed up that there is no chance of drawing a future one that will be any different. There is always a point on the road when one can map a new one and try and follow it. There is no person alive who cannot make a new beginning. It can be said without the slightest fear of contradiction that others may mock one and why by various means to push one under the verge, to tempt one in various ways to lead an immoral life. All such persons do so to accomplish private ends of their own and will wind up if one leads them into tragedy and sorrow. Oh, we're almost done. Oh my fucking god. Of course, one will have occasional losses trying to apply this book and get it applied. One should not... One should just learn from these and carry on. Who said the road doesn't have bumps? It can still be traveled so people can fall down. It doesn't mean they can get up again and keep going. If one keeps the edges on the road, one can't go far wrong. True excitement, happiness, and joy come from other things, not from broken lives. If you can get others to follow the road, you yourself will be free enough to give yourself a chance to discover what real happiness is. The way that happiness is a high-speed road to those who know where the edges are. You're the driver. Farewell. God damn it, I finished it. I finished this book. Fuck you. God damn it. Thank you for watching. I'm done reading this book.